I'm Bob. I like coffee. I also like to tell stories. So here at the Bobcast Coffee, it's time for a coffee break. So take a coffee break with me and pour yourself a cup of your favorite Joe. By the time you're done with your coffee, you'll know something about me you really didn't need to know. But you'll have fun learning it. Just remember, my stories are true. For the most part. Once again, I am enjoying my Scars and Stripes coffee out of a Papa Bear mug. This is a wonderful mug. Get a nice view of it. It's a wonderful mug given to me by my oldest and his family for Father's Day. It is Tommy and Steph. Big thank you. I love coffee mugs, and this one is going to be a special one. And it does work very well, keeping the coffee flowing. And now, as normal, we would be saying something to the effect of this episode is brought to you by Scars and Stripes. And the fact that Reynolds Revival and Scars and Stripes always team up together to sponsor an episode of Bobcast Coffee. And it's all true. But we're going to go right into the story because this is a special edition. Now, I need to tell you that it's been a month since my last episode. Maybe even longer, I don't know. I've lost track. My brother, Eric Craig Reynolds, my brother Rick, has passed away. And it was sudden and kind of jolted the family. Definitely put a jolt into me. And I've decided that I'm going to do one episode strictly for Rick. This is not technically a Rick story. This is the story Rick liked the most. In fact, when I first talked about putting these stories of my life down for the family and the grandkids and kids to come, my brother wanted this to be the first story. No. In fact, this was the story that I was never going to tell. This is the story of probably one of the most stupid things, and I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, but this was early on a big one. But I will tell you, it probably ended up not being as dangerous as other things I've done, and maybe not as close to illegal as other things I've done. But when it comes right down to just how intelligent a Bob can be, this proves how low that bar can be set. So here we go with episode 33. My brother's favorite, flatulence. So now we're talking about in the 70s. This is Bob in the 8th grade. Well, Bob, how do you know exactly that you were in the 8th grade? Well, simple. This story starts on the 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. Millions of kids do their 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. It's a rite of passage. It's a noble thing to do. I thought it was brilliant because we're talking about a week. Pretty sure it was a long week. It was like 7 days plus travel of Bob seeing great things of history. Bob witnessing how our government works. Bob's seen places that I thought I would never see. And yet, all I could think of was, this is Bob's first attempt at being away from the parents for an extended time. This is going to be fabulous. I need to apologize now for any of the adults and teachers that were on this trip that had to deal with me. My sincere, heartfelt apologies. All right. So why? Why would this be? Well, I'll tell you what I will do. A future Bobcast will be all about the Washington, D.C. trip and all the places that we went and all the trouble I got into. So all that's set aside for now. Why is this Washington, D.C. trip so important to this story? Because this is where Bob learned not only how to make arguments, this is what got me into debate, I think, because I learned how to argue, and not just how to argue, but how to definitively win an argument. So picture a room full of 8th grade boys in a hotel room, of course, not sleeping. I mean, why would we do that? So it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we are in a heated debate. This debate is really not about methane being a flammable substance. This is more about, is there more than one kind of methane? So, yeah, we've all learned in our science class that methane can be lit on fire, and it is a burnable source. But the methane that humans make, that's not the same kind of methane. Well, yes, it is. It is, and it's a flammable property. It's amazing what young 8th grade boys can argue about. I'm on the pro-methane side. I believe human methane is just as volatile as any other methane out there on the planet. And I've got 3 boys in this room that do not believe it's the same. You know, a dangerous explosive gas that emanates out of people doesn't make any sense to them. At this point, I've come to the realization that I'm not going to win this argument on just the logic of yes it is, no it isn't, yes it is, no it isn't. It's too much like a Monty Python routine. So I've got to change tactics. And boy, do I change tactics. I look at these boys and say, all right, I will prove that methane produced by a human is the same methane produced by any other creature or any other situation, anything that you can think of in nature is the same thing that we are, because we are part of nature. We're not different. We are all connected. I get rolls of eyes and I get, no, it's not. And I say, watch me. I whip out of my pocket my trusty Zippo lighter. One, every teenage boy needs a Zippo lighter. Why not? And 2, I needed it for this situation. So, I have my Zippo in hand, and these boys are all just staring at the Zippo. And I pull down my pants. Then I pull down my underwear. And I lay down on the bed. I roll up on my back. I get that Zippo lighter, and I put it between my legs. And I release a squeaker. Nothing happened. Kids howl. Told you so. I said, wait a minute, I can do better than that. So I muster up some Bob power here, and I roll back. I get that lighter, and I get it right up. And I realize, you know, the methane is probably not the only flammable thing on a human. Yeah, hair around your derriere is also flammable. Because I found out real quick that I didn't have any hair left on my derriere because I lit it on fire. So now in this woof of smoke and laughter, I sit back up, I breathe for a second, I realize that I have smoked my own butt here. I said, no, shut up. I'm going to do this because that's what Bobs do. We do not give up. We do not stop. We prove our point. And I roll back up there and I grab that lighter and I Zippo light, put it up between my legs, and I get ready and I immensely set out a 7.4 on the rectum scale. I backfire in such a beautiful way that a blue flame shoots out at least a good foot to foot and a half. We're talking 18 inches of flame coming out of Bob. The room is silent. The boys stand there and stare. Bob rolls up, puts the Zippo out in triumph, and then the room explodes in laughter. It was the best thing ever. And of course, all the other boys had to try it too. So, rite of passage, possibly. Act of stupidity, definitely. Did I win my point? Absolutely. So, all right, now the story comes back home. We're talking about a month later, maybe a month, maybe a little longer, a little less. And I don't know why, I don't know how, but one afternoon after school, I am sitting in my brother's room with my brother and his friend, I believe it was, Tim Harper sitting there. And we're just talking. They're getting ready to do something. I don't know. But I'm sitting there because I'm the little brother and I'm always in the way. And in this conversation, we start talking about the trip to Washington, D.C. And I proudly tell them how I won an argument. Definitively, 100% hands down won this argument about flatulence and jet propulsion from the human. And my brother just stares at me. Tim Harper starts laughing. He goes, "You didn't do that." I just said it. I just told you what I did. He goes, "No, you wouldn't do that." He wasn't arguing that it wasn't possible to do that, to release a one-gun salute in a flammable method. No. He was saying Bob would never, ever do that in front of people. Challenge extended. So I reach into my pocket and I pull out my trusty Zippo. And then I pull my pants down right there in front of my brother, in front of Tim Harper, and I am going to prove it. I get on the bed, I roll my legs back, and at this point I need to stop. And I need to tell you that there is a difference between what I did in my brother's room and what I did in that hotel room. All right. So in the hotel room, if you remember, I pulled down my pants. I pulled down my underwear. And I used my Zippo to take the insane methane flammable. In my brother's room, I pulled out the Zippo and I took down my pants, but I didn't pull down my underwear. I got on that bed and I rolled my feet back and I put my Zippo, flame going, into position to cut the cheese, and I let a bun shaker go. Now, is anyone out there familiar with the lighting practice and principles of a Coleman lantern? Coleman lantern, you put the little bag on the Coleman, you tie the little knot, you turn on the gas, you let the gas fill the bag, and you light that bag on fire. And it catches on fire. And then it burns down and glows bright and gives you a lantern. Bob not only has proven, one, that methane is flammable, and two, that Bob is the type of guy that can prove this fact, but three, I can make a human Coleman lantern. By not removing the underwear, when I shot off the cannon, the underwear collected the noxious fumes. The lighter still got the flame close enough and lit the fumes. My underwear burst into a bag of fire, which then burnt down into a glowing bright ember. And I sat there for a moment, wondering why I was having such a weird sensation, and it wasn't like this in Washington, D.C. Tim Harper collapses laughing. My brother stares in disbelief, and I realize that I have lit my genitalia on fire. I panic, and I go to put out the fire, but I don't do it calmly. I am putting out that fire as hard as I can, which hurt. My brother, tears rolling down his face, explodes into laughter. Does he help? Of course not. Bob is performing a floor show for pure entertainment factors, obviously. After a few minutes and a lot of tears, not all mine, I finally put the fire completely out. I go put salve on the afflicted areas. And my brother fell in love with this story. He has told this story to many people. Usually when I'm present, and usually because he knows I won't stop him, he loved this story. Now, all of you know the story. There is a part of me that is now proud that this story is out, and I don't have to hide the shame of one of the most setting the bar low moments in my life. But to my brother, to all of you who love coffee, to all of you who love painful stories of Bob, cheers. I miss my brother. I'm glad I got to tell this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next time, for another Bob story, go enjoy a cup.